Right now, every one of us is in the process of thinking. What we may not realize is that this very process affects our reality.
One of the fundamental principles in ancient indigenous spiritual traditions is the understanding that what we think and what we feel influences the physical world around us.
American inventor Henry Ford famously said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." In other words, your beliefs are frequencies mirrored in the world around you.
It's our thoughts, feelings, emotions, and even our beliefs have physical representations in the world around us.
Well, thoughts really direct our reality, both from how we perceive and the things we make out of our reality and what's happening in our environment, and they can affect what we manifest out of the quantum field into our physical reality.
Every time we think, every thought that we create in our head actually leaves our head as a wave of light. We know this because we can put a cap on someone's head with electrodes on it to pick up those waves of light and send them to a computer so we can analyze the brain. When you think about something, that information goes out eternally into space-time as a wave.
From a physics perspective, all possibilities exist as potentials in the field, which is in constant motion in the quantum realm, and each of us has the ability to visualize and perhaps create these potentials. Expanded consciousness is the state of being awake and aware within this field.
Now, as a scientist in the modern world, when I began to hear this, it didn't make sense because my conditioning was that we're separate from our world, that we have little influence over the body within us, let alone the world around us. But as the implications of quantum physics became widely known and more accessible, it became apparent how this relationship exists.
If you're a distant civilization, you can pick up that radio frequency and you can actually decode it. So we know that thinking is important because it directly affects everything around us. Other people, other things, believe it or not, can quantum entangle with those waves of light and download the information that you were thinking.
Japanese researcher Masaru Emoto studied how thoughts affect our physical world. He experimented with 3 beakers of rice and water. Every day for a month, he said thankful words to the first beaker. For the second one, he spoke hateful phrases to the rice, such as, "You're an idiot." He completely ignored the third beaker. After 30 days, the first beaker of rice gave off a pleasant scent and began to ferment. The rice in the second beaker turned black, and the rice in the third beaker started to rot.
The worst rice samples is the one that was ignored. The same can be said in our daily lives when dealing with children. Ignoring children is the worst thing we can do. Even if we have to scold them occasionally, communication is very important.
Communication, thoughts, and behaviors have a frequency, which is why many cultures emphasize the importance of speaking, thinking, and acting with integrity.
And it's all about the words, the vibration, then the meaning that we give to those words, the vibration that we assign to those words. And this begins to help us to understand the true power of language in our lives.
You did such a great job on this.
Our thoughts could create static within the field. They could create, interferences that get in the way of the things we're actually trying to manifest. We have all this subconscious thought that's also going on below the surface, and that creates a lot of ripples and static and unnecessary waves upon the field.
And this begins to help us to understand how the power of a thought can influence the way that neurons connect, the way that entire neural networks connect, and our ability through those neural networks to communicate not only within us, but to the world around us.
Our thoughts constantly affect the field. But what in the field influences our thoughts and consciousness? And what role does the brain play?
When we observe the human brain, there's a few things that can be deceiving. One is that we think of it as the seat of consciousness. We think of it as this place where somehow consciousness is manufactured. I don't think that is accurate. You can think of the brain as like part of the antenna that the body is actually tapping into a field of information.
Unstoppable.
Just like a radio set doesn't have the band in it. It doesn't have the announcer in it. It doesn't have all the activities that you're hearing, the football game.
Touchdown!
It actually is just tapping into a field of information, electromagnetic waves that are being received by the antenna of the radio. You interpret what's coming in and you send it back through the nature of your protons and the Planck field into the universe.
The universe emits a huge spectrum of frequencies that can tune our consciousness in a variety of ways.
When we think about how sound affects our consciousness, we have the ability through chanting, through meditation, through song, to amplify our thoughts to a greater degree than perhaps most realize. And in amplifying our thoughts, we're having a direct effect on not only our own consciousness, but the consciousness of everyone that we come into contact with.
It was found that when we use music, it tremendously increases our mental abilities. So music is not just for relaxation, it's not just for fun, but it's much more than that. With music, we can much easier transform to higher states of consciousness.
You play a national anthem and people are ready to march into battle and lay down their lives. So music affects us dramatically. It's almost like we're in our culture, we're programmed by our music. Just imagine if we can actually apply this in a way that is directed at navigating or directing our culture into a higher frequency or vibration. That's where we're at right now.
Music in general, listening or playing, is one of the few things that can light up the whole brain simultaneously, as seen on an EEG scan. This can cause the consciousness to harmonize, as we can use more of our total brain capacity in these coherent states.
In all mystical traditions, people have been using music. Cultural traditions, people was using music. We can't comprehend our civilization without music. So without music, we don't have civilization.
The rhythms of music that you listen to, or the rhythms of sounds that you expose yourself to, have a very entraining process on the psyche. And if you have the proper overlay of frequencies, you can actually bring the body into a harmonic state of resonance where the respiratory system slows down and the heartbeat slows down.
Emotions such as anger, laughing, or crying can move us to be more synchronized with others.
Entrainment is all around us at all times. Some examples of entrainment are when people are dancing together, or when women live together. Often their menstrual cycles will sync up to the same rhythm. Or if you have a room full of pendulum clocks, over a short time, all of the pendulums will sync back and forth to the same rhythm. All rhythms of life seek harmony by the nature of the cosmic pattern underlying everything.
The oldest instrument in the world was often used to bring an individual or group into a state of alignment.
The didgeridoo can be used to entrain a group to a common frequency because, like the monochord, it is one note. Or it can be used to entrain humans to the dream time, the cosmos, the earth, or each other. It creates a common vibrational field that all of those present can enter into together. This itself is a ceremony.
The impacts can be felt spiritually, mentally, emotionally, as well as physically.
There are two ways that sound affects us on a physical level. The first is called psychoacoustics, and this is where the sound goes into our ears, into our brains, affects our nervous system, our heart rate, our respiration, and our brain waves. Very powerful when we're listening to music, when we're hearing conversation, anytime we're using our ears. But there is a second way, and this way is called vibroacoustics, and this is where the sound goes into our body on a cellular level, going down to our molecules and our DNA. And this is a very powerful and important aspect of the phenomena of sound, and particularly resonance.
Water is one medium that can help us visualize these impacts.
Some of the most wondrous work was done by Masaru Emoto, and he took different sounds, different thoughts, different feelings, different vibrations, encoded it on the water, and the water would take on different wondrous geometric shapes. And my favorite of his pictures was a picture of the Fujiwara Dam from Japan, which is a polluted dam, and it looked like mud. And then he had a Buddhist priest chant a mantra, the Heart Sutra actually, over it, Gate Gate Para Gate Parasam Gate Bodhisvaha, for 20 minutes. Rephotographed it, and it looked like the most perfect snowflake crystalline structure.